TMZ Sports, Mike Babcock here. This man right here needs no introduction. One of the absolute greatest when it comes to racing everything. I mean, Tony, with three NASCAR championship, IndyCar. You've got one as an owner, two as an owner. Now NHRA. You are killing it there. You guys have a big event coming up starting November 9th at Auto Club Raceway in Pomona. We're going to get into that. First of all, though, before we started here, we're talking about these dragsters, Tony, and just how fast, how intense these runs are, coming from stock cars, from open wheel racing, and then to get in a car with thousands and thousands of pounds of horsepower. What is it like? What's the feeling?
It was crazy. It was something that it's really hard to explain to people, but anytime that somebody's getting ready to try to do that, I know we helped Travis Pastrana make his first run in a Top Fuel car, and trying to explain it to him, it's like you're telling him the words, and the same thing with me. They were telling me the words, but it wasn't registering it because you just can't accurately
even for someone like you, like give you something with four wheels and you'll race it and you'll win and you'll go fast. Even for you, it was like, holy crap.
Yeah, definitely. Everything that I'd driven, IndyCar, NASCAR, sprint cars, all the modifieds, all the different cars we ran, kind of were under the same bubble. I mean, some on different sides of that bubble, but they were all somewhat under the same bubble. When you get to the NHRA side, it's on its own island, off on its own, because everything is so fast. I mean, the acceleration's so fast. The run, I mean, you're running in the nitro classes, they're running over 300 miles an hour.
Wow.
My alcohol class, we're running between 270, 280 miles an hour.
Wow. Quarter mile, you're going from, wow.
So
what do you do? How, 5-ish seconds?
Yeah, 5.2 seconds is about the average run. So, I mean, it happens quick, and then you get in the nitro cars, and they're running in the 3.7 second bracket, 3.6 seconds at 330 miles an hour. It's just the acceleration is insane. When the parachutes come out to slow you down at the end of the run, that's insane. Everything that happens in that short amount of time, there's so much in a 3-second run that you wouldn't think about, and your brain has to sit there and make all these decisions during that 3-second run.
Talk about that, because I think there is and I'll be honest, I don't know a whole bunch, but I've been getting more and more into all kinds of racing. But I think there's a perception that you all don't do much when you're doing that, right? Like you sit there and you're along for the ride, but it doesn't sound like it's that.
No, and you look at a drag strip and you look at NHRA racing. I mean, the track is a straight line.
Right.
They never go exactly straight.
No.
So you have to be on top of the steering wheel. If the tires start to shake or smoke the tires, you have to pedal the car. So you have to know what decisions to make, but you have to make split-second decisions in the drag cars. And all the telemetry, all the data that they get from it that they're allowed to analyze, all the things it takes to make these cars go down the track and go that fast and that short of a distance is pretty incredible.
What's it feel like on your body afterwards? I'm sure there's a lot of G-force. There's a lot of intense forces on your body. Are you tired after? Or you feel a little beat up, like you went through a workout? What's it feel like after?
It's funny because we used to sit there and we'd run a 3.5-hour cup race and get out of the car and not be out of breath or anything. And then you watch the NHRA drivers and they get out and they're breathing hard.
Like it was only 5 seconds, 3 seconds.
I can hold my breath underwater for a minute.
Right.
It's like what happened?
Yeah.
And then I caught myself the first couple of times I drove. I couldn't breathe when I got up into. It's just there's
like knock the wind out of you just because
because there's just so much happening, and like I said, in such a short amount of time that to physically be on top of that and mentally, it's more mentally draining, I feel like, than physically draining.
Really?
Even though it's not a long duration. Just the amount of stuff that you have to remember, the procedure, the cadence of the procedure of firing the car up to when they signal you to pull up to do the burnout and backing up and getting, following the guy that's signaling you to get in the right spot. All the things you have to do, turning the fuel on all the way instead of it being trimmed down. All these little details that have to happen not only correctly, but in a proper cadence at the same time. So trying to learn all these new skill sets and things that I've never had to do before in a IndyCar or a NASCAR or sprint cars, it's just been a really cool transition and neat experience.
Is there one that's harder, more difficult, or are they just all challenging in their own way?
I think they all have their unique aspects that make them difficult, but definitely on the drag race side, when I got to drive Leah's Top Fuel car the first time, I mean, my body and the car were way down the racetrack. My brain was way behind it, which as long as nothing happens that you got to make a correction on, it's
You're
okay.
okay, right?
But, you know, being that far behind the
Right.
car, I'm like, this is not the smartest thing I've ever
Right.
done in motorsports.
It's like almost shocking to hear you say that again as somebody who has won in every different place in racing. I think it goes to show how hard it can be and what the learning curve is. Is racing growing? It feels like it is. I remember I was at the Clash at the Coliseum. I think that was February. We're obviously here in LA, and I know there are tracks in the LA area, but there was a lot of fans out there. They seemed excited. It seems like, whether if it's Indy, if it's NHRA, we know what F1's doing. It feels like racing is growing and getting bigger in America. Is that a fair?
I definitely think
sense?
so. And as odd as it's going to sound, I really worried about the short track industry during COVID.
Really?
There were a lot of racetracks that, these owner and operators couldn't afford to keep them open. But at the same time, the industry as a whole, I feel like, thrived through COVID.
Right.
Got stronger. The fan bases got stronger. When people were allowed to go back to racetracks, they wanted to get out. So anything they could do to get out of the house. And my gosh.
Yeah, you're fine.
Such a professional.
You're fine. Mine's probably not.
But it's just all those variables. It's just crazy how when racing started opening back up, people wanted to get out of the house. They didn't want to be stuck inside anymore. And it was crazy to see how many fans started coming. And there were people that came to the races for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the fun things that we're seeing now, being a part of NHRA, is we'll go to a track and we'll see fans that have our NASCAR gear or sprint car gear on, and they're like, this is our first drag race.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's so cool. I'm like, after you see this round of runs, come back and tell me what you think about it. And they come back and their eyes are huge.
Really
can't believe the experience. So what you see on TV with NHRA, it's 10 times better to be there in person. The sights, the smells, feel.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally will feel, if you're up there in the bleachers,
rumble.
you can feel the insides of your body moving around when these cars leave.
Yeah.
So that's something that there's not another form of motorsports that will give you the feelings that you get.
Yeah, it does seem like it's one of those things where if you're out there, it's a completely different experience. Not that it's not great on TV, because it is, but it's different when you're out there. Yeah, you brought up Leah. Obviously, your wife is Leah Pruitt, tremendously talented driver in her own right. What's it like having her, somebody that you care about, you love, obviously want to make sure she's safe? What is that like with that dynamic?
It's a little bit challenging. It is. First off, it's very fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would think so.
Every weekend we get to go to work and
what a
get
cool
to race
adventure,
with each
right?
other.
Yeah.
So, but I think the aspect of her as a driver and me as the car owner presents some challenges. So if I see her do something wrong, or
you say, hey, don't crash my car.
Well, or see that she needs to do, in my opinion, that she needs to do something different. She's got 26 years of experience doing this. I've got 12 months now.
Right.
So
she tell you, hey, Tony.
No, that's where I go to the crew chief and go, you're going to have this conversation. I can't have it. He goes, I'm not doing it. You do it. I'm like, I get the trump card because I have to go home with her.
Right.
You
So
get to leave the track and go away, and if she's mad, you don't have to deal with it anymore.
So you're doing it.
So it's on you. So
that's great. That's so funny. Talk to me about, I'm always fascinated about this. What's it like when you're driving out in the real world? What do you like as a driver? Does Tony Stewart have like 75 speeding tickets, or?
I would say in 47 of the states that are here, it's fairly okay and fairly sanitary and normal. When you cross over into California, it's like they give you a rule sheet at the border.
Oh, I know. You can't do
anything.
anything.
State line and say, okay, this is how everything's different. Everybody's going to drive 20 mile an hour faster, which I like. I like that aspect. But everybody that owns a Prius is going to be in every lane, and it's like playing. It's like playing real life Frogger when you come out to LA and California. But no, I like it out here. It's I do like the fact that when you get on the interstate at night, people
they'll
screwing
move
around. They're getting on. With it. During the day, it's the opposite pace because there's so many.
Well, you're in traffic, right? You can't move anywhere, right?
So I want to rent a motorcycle when I come out. Yeah, they seem to have.
You actually can split the lanes here.
Yeah.
You ever do any motorcycle racing?
No, my dad was very big about if it didn't have four wheels, there weren't enough wheels on it. So he was passionate about that.
A little more dangerous, yeah. Do you ride for fun, or you do?
Yeah, actually, Rusty Wallace's son, Steven, has a bike company, takes
cool.
Harleys and customizes
Oh,
them. And
nice.
so he just finished building one for Leah and I, and we love riding
Oh,
it.
how cool. It's like a weekend kind of thing?
Yeah, our first date, actually, we ended up at Bike Week at Daytona.
No way.
We were
Oh, how
both in
cool.
Gainesville and ended up going over there for the evening. And so we've said that every year, right before the NHRA season
Yeah.
opens in Gainesville, that we will be at Bike Week
Oh,
at
cool.
least
That's
one night
nice.
to remember the first date that we
Right.
went on.
Just kind of
So
celebrate that first date. That's
yeah.
awesome. You obviously own a number of different big time teams. How much longer do you think you actually will stay in the car and race? Not that you're not already, killing it and doing great. We've got this, obviously we've got finals coming up here in just a few weeks, but how much longer do you think?
That's a great question. It's I think from the NASCAR side, I retired
Yeah.
at the right time. I haven't been in a wing sprint car on dirt for a couple of years now,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. The good thing about drag racing is, because the run is so short,
Yeah.
and you're only making the most you're going to make in a day is 4 runs a
Okay.
day. So physically, it's not as taxing on your
Right.
body. The taxing part is the acceleration and deacceleration when the parachutes come out. That's the hardest part on your body, or if it shakes the tires really hard and shakes the car. But I do feel like in NHRA, I mean, this is adding years to the end of my racing
Wow.
career. I mean, I probably, if it wasn't for NHRA, I probably would be, for the most
Retired
part,
already.
officially retired.
Really?
But this has kind of been a rebirth for me, and
That's awesome.
it's been fun to learn a new discipline of
Right.
motorsports at the same time. But yeah, these cars. I mean, Chris Karamessini, the Greek, drove into his early 90s.
That's
Was the
incredible.
last time he drove a top fuel car, which I thought was absolutely insane to
Right.
watch him do that.
But how cool too, though, right? It's
John
like, why
Force is
not?
in his early 70s
Yeah.
and still winning races. It is a
Could you see
sport.
that? Could we see like 20 years down the road? Could we see like 70-year-old Tony Stewart?
I just hope I live another 20 years.
Well,
At
you
the
and me
rate I've been
both.
going, I feel like I'm a video game on extended play every birthday.
Right.
So.
Well, that is going to happen. Once more, NHRA finals at the Auto Club Raceway, Pomona, November 9th. You race first time November 9th, right? And then idea
Yeah,
is
I
to
start
keep going to the
qualifying
12th.
I start qualifying the 9th. The cool thing, we got In-N-Out Burger that now is the title sponsor of the racetrack there in Pomona, and NHRA's had a big announcement this week of Mission Foods being a title sponsor for the
Amazing.
series. So a lot of growth going on in NHRA, and trust me, to come out in November to Pomona, the weather's beautiful, the racing's amazing.
Yeah.
So a great opportunity to come.
I'm going to be there. I can't wait to see this. Thanks so much, Tony.
My
I really
pleasure.
appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.